Computer. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Retired Club and What is Money. So today we have Charlie Stevens, the founder of Shilling Point, where he helps families manage their Bitcoin estates without ever giving up self-custody, covering security, privacy, and long-term capital management. A Bitcoiner for more than 10 years and with an actual background. He spent over 3 years in El Salvador and only actually came back there last month, I think it was, and he came to the Bitcoin Ireland conference, and he was at the Bitcoin Ireland conference. Some of you might have met him at the conference. So for the last 3 years, he's been in El Salvador, onboarding businesses and families across the socio-economic spectrum, from market vendors to established firms and companies and corporations. His approach favors simplicity and robustness. Setups a family can actually maintain, inherit, and trust for decades. So, Charlie, welcome to the club and take it away. You can share your screen.
Brilliant. Yeah, will do. Just wanted to know if people can speak if they wanted to, if they have the ability to. But looking forward to the Q&A towards the end. It's mainly I want this to be interactive, and I want to know how everyone's doing with their Bitcoin, and what journey we're in together. I assume that everyone has knowledge of Bitcoin, basic knowledge at least, and understands the basics of self-custody and what it means to own your own Bitcoin. I assume Denny's talked you through that. Denny's
Well, there's new people joining all the time, so some people mightn't be up to that level at the moment, but the majority of people are, I'd say.
brilliant. Well, I'll do a quick recap. But Denny and Laura are the best in the business, anyways, to be able to describe the differences between Bitcoin and other assets. So classically, most people have been invested in physical assets, whether it's property or gold, or whether it's stocks or whether it's government bonds, where there's usually a deed or something that says that you own that, and it's usually held with the government that says this individual holds it. And that's what we've relied on a lot throughout history. And now with Bitcoin, it's the first ever asset that you can truly own just yourself, which means you don't need to ask for any permission, or you don't need a third party to validate that you own it. And that means that you own this, and what governs your asset, what decides whether it can be used or not, is how well your keys are managed, which means your seed phrase. And your seed phrase is the most important thing, which is the 12 words that designates your Bitcoin. If you have your 12 words secured properly, then your Bitcoin is safe. And the good thing, the amazing thing, and what I'd say beautiful thing about Bitcoin is that we know it's scarce at 21 million, and we know that it's going to last for a long, long, long time. And when we know this, when we know that it's scarce and that it's going to last a long time, it means that we can plan, and we can plan well. And we can plan in terms of its security and in terms of its future and how it's going to serve you and your financial needs or your dreams. But if you're going to hold it in self-custody, you need to be prepared. You need to know what the risks are. You need to know what the pitfalls are if you don't secure it properly. That's the main thing. So I assume Dinny has, yeah,
Charlie, just for a second, just explain your background a little bit,
absolutely.
what
Yeah,
you've done
just
before,
to
because you
give
come from
you,
high
yeah,
finance.
for sure, for sure. So I studied mathematics and finance, actuarial science, and then I worked in PwC for a good few years as an actuarial consultant, so calculating reserves for insurance companies and yeah, l large life insurance companies as an analyst. And I found that I could see what they were invested in, the bonds, and I could see the whole financial system, analyzing multi-billion dollar balance sheets, and realized that it was all on top of a very fragile system where their assumptions on how these assets were going to work in the future were based on the last 5 years rather than looking back decades and having a true sense of potential inflation. Assumptions never went above 2% inflation when I was analyzing these balance sheets. And since then, since I left, inflation's raged up to 5, 6, 7, 8%. So that just shows you the models that govern these massive life insurance companies. We're talking Zurich, Allianz, all the major ones. Their assumptions are wrong, and that means that it's fragile. So I went into Bitcoin and I started studying it deeply in 2017, so for over 10 years, and bought a Bitcoin ATM and started selling Bitcoin in the south of Spain. And when I realized the regulations were quite tight, I moved over to El Salvador to then try and set up my own company there. But while over there, I went into a missionary sort of mode and started convincing businesses and educating the individuals in El Salvador about Bitcoin and how to hold it, how to secure it, how to accept it as a business, because education was lacking. And over the last year, I've built the company Shelling Point, focused on families specifically and small to medium-sized businesses on helping them secure their Bitcoin, helping them plan with their Bitcoin, with capital management and help with their privacy. So that's my background. And if anyone has any questions on that, fire ahead. But I'm really passionate about it. I think Bitcoin is going to change the face of the world. I believe it's going to be the base, the money of the world. And I think we are all placed in a very good position to take full advantage of that if we inform ourselves and if we use the right tools and if we educate ourselves in the right way. That's the main thing. So I've got a presentation for you guys and really looking forward to it, really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this, what your experiences are, what your doubts are, especially because I like to hear where people are coming from and I can address them as soon as possible. So I'm just going to share. So I assume that a lot of people have been recommended by Dinny to use multi-sig or use BTC advisors, which is a really good option where they can use multi-sig, which means having more than one key to decide on the spending of your Bitcoin. So more than one key means one key is 12 words, 12 or 24 words. So if you have just a single signature wallet, meaning one key, that means if you have those 12 words, you have the Bitcoin. If someone finds those 12 words, they have your Bitcoin. So it's easy to spend, it's easy to rob, it's easy to lose, right? The good thing about multi-sig is that there's more than one key or there's more than one set of 12 words. There's potentially three or five, but the most popular is three. And with BTC advisors that Dinny suggests, this is what's called a two of three, meaning you need two keys out of three to spend the Bitcoin. And I want to today talk about ways of increasing your security with your Bitcoin without having to do multi-sig specifically. If you have multi-sig, I think it's the best possible option. But if you want to segregate your Bitcoin into different buckets, which a lot of people might want to do if they have a business or if they have an individual in their family that they want to save for, or if they want to plan for different purposes, whether it's long-term education or whether it's their child's wedding or anything of the sort that might require a chunk of savings or a house deposit or a vehicle, any of those larger expenditures. If you wanted to split your Bitcoin rather than having it in a lump, using a passphrase is a really, really good way. A passphrase is fantastic. A passphrase, what it does, it adds a whole other layer of security to your wallet, and we're going to talk a bit about that. The second topic that I'm going to be speaking about is privacy. So, as you know, Bitcoin is set to gobble up a huge market cap as time goes by. We're talking massive amounts. Right now, the bond market is $100 trillion and it's a load of shite. That's what it is. The bonds are basically government debt, the government saying they owe you money, and their ability to tax their citizens is their ability to pay back that government debt. So that's $100 trillion that's going to be gobbled up, and Bitcoin's going to gobble that up. Um, and yeah, we'll share the website as down the line. So yeah, so 100 trillion. So right now, Bitcoin is at $1 trillion market cap. Global bond is at $100 trillion. So this is me. I've already said a good few things here. So actuarial training, risk management, over 3 years in El Salvador. So I've seen hundreds of individuals who've gone over there with their own Bitcoin and seen people lose their Bitcoin. They've Two good friends of mine passed away. One died at a heart attack on his 60th birthday and had his words on his in his head, and he lost over 5 Bitcoin. Where his brother can still see that balance because he had it. You could see the wallet, but you couldn't spend. So the brother is able to see the 5 Bitcoin when it was there, but he's never going to be able to access it. And he had nephews and everything who were going through education that might have been able to use that 5 Bitcoin for some good purposes, obviously. And then another friend who took his own life and left the 12 words somewhere where the police were able to take those 12 words, and they ended up taking those that Bitcoin. So really, really awful situation stories that made me think twice about planning with Bitcoin, planning the security, planning how to hold your Bitcoin. And that's why Shelling Point exists and why I'm so passionate about it. So, yeah, the passphrase is really important. This is called a 13th or 25th word, depending on if you have 12 words or 24 words to govern your Bitcoin. And we'll talk about that. It's really good for extra layer of protection. CoinJoin is a way of increasing your privacy. So as Bitcoin gobbles up the market cap, your Bitcoin is going to get more valuable. That's Everyone here is going to be wealthier in the future. But if your privacy isn't good, there's going to be not only governments, but there's individuals out there that are able to tie your identity to your coins, and that increases your risk of getting attacked. Full stop. If you don't take care of your privacy, you're putting yourself at a higher amount of risk. So understanding how to increase your privacy is essential. It's absolutely essential. So we're going to talk about software that you can use in order to increase your privacy by mixing up your coins through CoinJoin. And then at the end, we'll go through Q&A. And please, Lara, keep me on a tight rope here in terms of time. So we'll say, 20, 40 for quick questions and
Yeah.
answers.
Okay. No bother.
Okay, brilliant. So yeah, so what is the passphrase? Everyone knows that 12 words governs your Bitcoin. So you create a wallet. And when you create a wallet, you're given 12 words. These are 12 out of 2,048 words, possible words. It's very hard to guess that. It's very hard to guess that. But if you have those 12 words in your sock drawer or you have them somewhere where someone could potentially access those 12 words, if you've saved your Bitcoin there, whether it's a half a Bitcoin, a full Bitcoin, multiple Bitcoin, or 1/10 of a Bitcoin, if they find those 12 words, they've got your Bitcoin. So that is a risk. And also when thinking about inheritance, if you want to pass your Bitcoin on to your next of kin and you only have your 12 words and you want to be able to pass it on to the next person, if you give them your 12 words before you pass away, they're able to spend it. And you might love your children dearly or your beneficiaries, whoever that is, but you might not trust them not to spend it until you pass away. So having an extra passphrase, a 13th word that creates a whole different wallet is a really, really good way to, can I hide? Yeah, it's a really good way of not allowing individuals to access your Bitcoin if they have access to those 12 words. So wallet A, this is your seed phrase and nothing being no passphrase. So that's where you store your Bitcoin. Okay. And I'm going to give an example after this, actual do a proper example. And then wallet B is this is your seed words, your 12 words, and a passphrase. And this can be anything. So it can be small caps, big caps, numbers, special characters, but it's case sensitive. So this wallet will be completely different to this wallet because of the difference in the small caps and big caps, as you can see, guys, which means that when you do create a passphrase, which you choose, you want it to be backed up properly or that you can remember it well. Okay. So, for example, we have, as a family, we have our savings and we have then a separate business and we might have Bitcoin in that business. And we have, let's say we'd have one seed phrase, but we'd have three different wallets for different purposes, one being the business, one between the family, separate family, and another one for a specific deposit that we want to save up for a piece of land. So that's three separate wallets within the family. So we have the same seed phrase, so same seed word, same 12 words, but then we have a different passphrase for each one. And that creates a different wallet. Okay. So I challenge everyone to go and get your software, Sparrow Wallet, for example, and create a new wallet. Okay. Sparrow Wallet tests passphrase. Sparrow Wallet is really good for checking out new features to be able to see how the passphrase works, to create new wallets, to interact with your cold wallet. And guys, please ask questions at the end because I might be saying a lot of words, jargon that you might not get. But a cold wallet is basically a device that's offline that holds your 12 words, holds your keys so that it's not, so that your 12 words aren't on a device that's connected to the internet. So this is a single signature wallet. Let's make a new or imported software. And let's see, I'm gonna hide this, hide video panel. Hide floater meeting controls, and we're going to go to 12 words, and we're just going to generate a new key. So I've just generated a new wallet. Okay. So right now, if I confirm backup, this will just be, it will create a new wallet and I can send Bitcoin to there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a passphrase. Okay. And we're going to say Ireland needs Bitcoin. Okay. So that's our passphrase, and it's we're going to need to remember the capital letters as well. And I'm going to I never ever do what I'm doing anyways, but I'm going to take a photo just so I can confirm the backup. And we're going to re-enter the words, and we're going to say dice, raw. We're going to endless, four square, avoid, robust, horn, vague. Uh, Gown, Apple, case, and reform. Okay, so we're going to create keystroke. Basically, I'm creating a new wallet here, and then I'm going to re-enter the passphrase, which we said was Ireland needs Bitcoin. Let's try again. So Ireland needs Bitcoin. And there we go. So we have this, and now we're going to apply. We're not going to put a password in. So there's a difference between a passphrase and a password. And now we can receive Bitcoin. So I can see I've got a new address. I'm going to go into my wallet and I'm going to send Bitcoin here and you'll see that I can try and open a new wallet. So anybody can try and open this wallet by putting in the 12 words that you've already seen, and you won't be able to access the Bitcoin. So I'm going to send 10,000 sats, which is about $6.30. And right now I've sent that. I'll go into my transactions and we can see here in 2 seconds that it'll be there. So once we see that there's a transaction coming in, here we go, retrieving one transactions. Even if I back up the 12 words in any other wallet without the passphrase, I won't be able to access these 10,000 sats. So only by putting in the 12 words and putting in the passphrase will I be able to do that. And I challenge an individual here right now to go and do that and see if they have the Sparrow Wallet software, put in the 12 words and the passphrase. And if you do that, congratulations, you get the 10,000 sats. That's your bounty for learning about what the passphrase is. Okay? So congratulations. So I'm going to keep that there and keep going with the slideshow in the meantime. So I hope I'm getting across what that is. Basically, you create a whole different wallet when you add the passphrase, and it's a really, really handy way to increase your security. So you want to keep your seed words and passphrase separately. So that's extremely important. With every hardware wallet, most of them, the Trezor, you can do it with the Ledger, the Cold Card. These are all different wallets that people can use. You can add a passphrase. Okay. So you can add a passphrase. They might be in settings or options or in the cold card. It's straight away there. And your hardware wallet will have your seed phrase. You just add in the passphrase and then it'll open up a separate wallet B, which will be different to your original 12 words. So my recommendation for people is to keep a dummy amount of Bitcoin in your 12 words, so your wallet with just your 12 words, and then keep a larger chunk of Bitcoin with your 12 words and the passphrase on top. So that's a really good way. So if someone comes and tries to attack you and take your Bitcoin, you can give them the 12 words, they see there's Bitcoin there, and they take that, but they haven't got most of the Bitcoin there in the background. So that's a good way to avoid losing a good chunk of money, what it protects against and what it doesn't. So if your seed backup is found, paper or steel plate discovered by a burglar, a contractor, a family member, whatever, they are not able to access your Bitcoin. Let's say your device and PIN are compromised for your hardware wallet. Still, they cannot access your Bitcoin because you have a passphrase. You're coerced. You have the ability to give them the decoy wallet that I just talked about. Now, what are the dangers? You can forget it. So you can forget your passphrase, which is a disaster. And you can, still type it onto a computer. So try not do what I did and type it into a computer, but keep it on a device that isn't connected to the internet, like a hardware wallet. A compromised transaction. So yeah, someone could trick you to send to another address, that will not protect you from doing mistakes like that. Okay.
Charlie, we would just ask anybody if they wanted to just ask, because you have
Please.
to gone through a lot there. If anybody wants any ask any questions, because we've got another 35 minutes anyway. Okay? Just leave it on that screen on the
Yeah, of course.
slideshow.
Guys,
Anybody
fire
else want
away.
to jump in? Ask any questions? Or is everybody okay? Morbian?
Yeah, I'm sure. Charlie, thank you for coming on tonight, but I'm sure I've got some dumb questions for you.
No, not at all.
Um, no, it's just that it's a bit like you want to kind of rattle and the fact that if you forget the passphrase, you have lost your money forever, right? And it kind of makes me think of these old tales where people used to, if they were hunted or what have you, they would leave their houses and they would bury golden coins in the walls of a house that didn't even belong to them, with a view to coming back and finding them one day. when they needed them. But if they were on the run, they were on the run, and there was nowhere that they could keep wealth safely. Um, so that's an old historical tale, but with
But
hard
it still
work,
happens though, Marvin.
yeah, it does,
It's a
it does. It
reality.
is still, yeah, historical,
Until
but
Bitcoin came along.
yeah. And then would people, thing is, if someone takes your cold wallet, but you've got the passphrase in your head, can you still get your money?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it. So I can travel to Iran right now, and as long as I can access the internet, which could be tough, I could still access my Bitcoin. You can go to anywhere in the world as long as you have your seed phrase, which is your 12 words, and your passphrase, if you have the passphrase, then you have access to your Bitcoin. If you don't have a passphrase, all you need is your 12 words.
Yeah.
But but the fear is real. You know, the fear is real where if you lose those seed phrases,
But
your
it's happened
Bitcoin is
already.
gone.
Nearly 4 million
Ah,
coins are stuck on the Bitcoin blockchain because people forgot the passwords. That's all that happened.
Yeah.
You know, you hear about people losing Bitcoin, Marvin.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
ways people have lost Bitcoin is because they put it on the blockchain, back on the blockchain, they took it off the exchange, put it back on the blockchain, and they forgot the passwords, or they lost the passwords, or the house went on fire and it was written down on paper, or there was a flood in the room and
Yeah.
the paper got wet.
Yeah.
That's how 4 million coins cannot move. So there's
Yeah.
like, say, 20 million coins made now. 4 million
Yeah.
will never be moved because people lost the passwords. So there's only
Yeah.
16 million.
Wow. Wow.
and
And
So
Bitcoin
yeah,
is
it's
probably
quite
the
a
only one you
common
can do it with.
weakness. Yeah, it's quite a common human weakness then, isn't it? And yeah, I guess, it's something that people can kind of think together about, really, isn't it? To save one another from that eventuality. Um,
Well, it's
absolutely.
all got down to do with the education as well. People need to learn about this. Most people haven't got a clue about Bitcoin. They just talk in hearsay.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
They don't know the facts.
Having a good, well documented system of where your keys are is important. Having redundancy in place, so having multiple copies in different locations is going to be important. Having other individuals that might be able to help you recover parts of the information necessary to spend your coins is also an important aspect of holding your Bitcoin. As your Bitcoin starts to increase, you will want to make sure the security is tight, but you also want to make it simple enough that recovery is both possible for just yourself, but also your next of kin or the beneficiary for your Bitcoin if you pass away. So if a bus hit you tomorrow, would your Bitcoin be recoverable? Would it be easy for your beneficiaries to access it? Would it be stressful for them? Would they know what to do? These are the sort of questions that you need to ask yourself because Bitcoin is a whole different animal to any of these other assets that you could just go to the lawyer, show the death certificate, and be able to assign that asset to your name. It's not like that. It's a completely different ballgame. And that's why having the basic knowledge of how the protocol works is really important. Does anybody else have any questions, guys, before we move on? And any question is good, by the way.
so if somebody was to get hit by a truck and they had already told, no, they said in their will that they have some Bitcoin and that they've already told one of their relatives how to get it. They've told them the passphrases and everything. So that relative has the information. They can get into the wallet. However, I suppose the solicitor will know about it, and then it might have to go through legal channels in some way for probate. I know that this is really sick, but
No, okay,
any
so so first of all, you don't even have to put anything in your will.
yeah, that's a good point. I thought that when I said it.
That
Yeah,
although the will can contain the information for the other assets. But as long as you have clear instructions for your beneficiary, and this is what we talk through within Shelling Point, is different techniques in order to pass on that information at the right time for your beneficiaries.
Yeah.
You might not want them to access your Bitcoin before you pass away. So how do you manage to pass the information after you die in a way
Yeah.
that they have enough information and know that how to access it? So these are the key questions, and it's a real tricky one because of the nature of how Bitcoin works, because it's just a key. So you can include lawyers if you want, but I don't think people want to go through the process of probate or want to deal with inheritance tax, which in a lot of countries you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
legally, the thought is that you can be prosecuted if you don't, but of course, it it's in a different level. Bitcoin, it's on a different kind of level.
It
That's just
definitely.
fear, though, that they're putting out. You can be prosecuted if you don't do what,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Morgan.
And if they don't know that you own Bitcoin, which is the ideal situation,
Sure, how do they find out? That's the whole thing. People will inform themselves. Like
Yeah.
nobody knows how much Bitcoin you have. How do they actually know?
Yeah.
What'll happen in the future? And they're lining people up right now for it. They're lining people up to start informing on themselves of what they have. And then in 5 years' time or 7 years' time, they're going to come after loads of people. That's what's going to happen.
I think also, Lara, there's the what's called the on-ramps and the off-ramps, and that's where the government keeps their eyes peeled, is where you turn Bitcoin into euros or pounds or dollars and vice versa. So if you can manage to acquire Bitcoin without giving away your identity when purchasing it, then you're giving yourself an advantage. And obviously, if you're trying to purchase an asset with those funds that you didn't link your identity, it needs to be in a smart way as well down the line. So the good thing is that there's plenty of other jurisdictions where you can hold Bitcoin in a way that there's capital gains without having to pay tax as well in a completely legal manner. So yeah, so there's ways of being able to handle this that is completely legal, completely above board, but you just need to know the technical aspect in the background. That's really important. Okay.
Okay, so you don't need to be on a platform like Binance or Coinbase or something like that to get Bitcoin. There are other
There
ways.
are there are other ways, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to move on, and we're going to move on to privacy, which is very relevant to the questions that you asked. And this is important for all manners. I think everyone knows that privacy is important and keeping, uh, you know, no, I don't mean specifically for the government, but for other individuals to make sure that they don't know that you have the Bitcoin that you have. So four rules before you add one. So store it separately. You want to store your passphrase separately from your seed phrase. That's really important. And make sure that you can restore it. So test it out before you start allocating a large amount of Bitcoin. Make sure that you put a little bit in there first and try and restore it. Number three, put it in your estate plan. Okay. So you need to make sure that your next of kin also know that there's a passphrase included. Okay. That's really, really important. So if it's undocumented, your Bitcoin won't pass on to your next of kin or your beneficiaries. And boring beats clever. Keep it really simple. Okay. Keep it really simple. That's the best way. A lot of Bitcoin has been lost by people trying to overcomplicate their setup. So, CoinJoin. So this is important, guys. I don't know if you've seen how Bitcoin works in a transaction. So let's just go in here and have a look at how transactions really work. It's very interesting. Go back. Okay, let's see. We're into here, and we're going to see just a standard transaction. So there's lots of different transactions that happen. So we'll go to the start where we are. So this is a blockchain. This is how Bitcoin works. And we're waiting for another block to confirm. In each of these blocks, you have thousands of transactions that are happening all across the globe. As you can see here, these are all the transactions that have been made in those 10 minutes, basically, those 9 minutes. So if you go to any of these transactions, you'll be able to see that we go into one transaction. It looks like this. You have an input and output, okay? And it might be a little bit confusing as to what's all this, but we go into different ones. We'll go to the ones that have a little bit more of a fee and we'll see what it looks like. So these transactions can look very different, but these all have different forms and they have fees attached to it. So this fee is relatively big. Okay. So because Bitcoin is transparent, you're able to see all of these transactions. You can go into any transaction, go into it, and see what it looks like. You can see where it came from, where it's going, and anybody can access this. So we just had a block confirmed. These are all the transactions. Let's say I want to go into this one. And let's say I know that this this address, so you see where it says BC1Q, is owned by one individual. Okay? Let's say I know that who that is. If I know that that's who it is, then I can trace where did it go to, and I can see that it went to the address BC1Q62. So I can keep on following these inputs and outputs to know which address it belongs to. And that's why if you don't take the privacy seriously enough, people can actually trace where your Bitcoin is going to and who owns that, like who basically owns that Bitcoin with decent tools. So there's ways of being able to increase your privacy by doing what is called a coin join. And this might be a little bit too technical, but this is just kind of a superficial view of how it works. So what it does, Bitcoin is a public ledger, obviously. Anybody can link that address. You know, if you buy Bitcoin from an exchange, then your identity can be attached to it. If your identity is attached to it, if that ever gets leaked, either to a state or to a hack from the exchange where your name has been leaked to and it's attached to a public address, then your coins are attached to your identity. So being able to know how to do something like a coin join can be very, very beneficial. So if you have a big nest egg in Bitcoin, but it's traceable, you might want to think about being able to increase your privacy, so it's not visible to strangers. So right now, Wasabi is the main coin join way to do it. I think it's really, really beneficial. It's a really good way to be able to mix your coins. And I'm just going to go into Wasabi just to give you an idea of how it works. Hopefully that. Okay, so I'll have to come back to that passphrase. But this, the way you use CoinJoin is by creating a new wallet. And when you do, you'll get 12 words. You write them down. And once they're written down, then you continue and you'll have to do the recovery process. Once that's done, all you'll need to do is send money to that account. And once you send it to that account, what will happen is that it will get recycled. Okay? So it will get recycled in a way that it will join with lots of others, just kind of like this. It will join up with lots of other inputs of the same value amount, and then it will have lots of different others of the same value amount. as you can see here. So you might have lots of peers so that it's one shared transaction, and in the output, there's no way to trace it back to you. So it's very hard to guess where did that Bitcoin go to. So this is a really, really handy way to increase your privacy. This is something that we focus on in Shelling Point, on being able to help people go through that process. If you want any help in being able to increase your privacy, just get on to me. Okay, so 5 things to do this month. I recommend everyone to do this. So try add a passphrase to your spending wallet. This is really important. Test and restore it. Store the passphrase obviously separate to the seed, which is the seed phrase, the 12 words. Keep those separate because if they have access to both, they have access to your Bitcoin. One thing that's really important, it's called good hygiene, is use a fresh address for every time you receive Bitcoin. And yeah, check old addresses. Anything spent from that still holds coins, gets moved. So yeah, so if you don't understand why to do this, you can ask me. But yeah, moving your Bitcoin regularly can, if you think it might not be private, is a good idea. So privacy is security in while you're retired. It's really important. Start with good hygiene, which means using new addresses every time. And then if you feel like you need more privacy, CoinJoin then is a good option. Okay. That's it. That's the presentation. I'd really like to hear other questions from people, what you have, any concerns at all. I'm here to answer any questions. Anyone there that feels like they've
When you
learned.
say, Charlie, thanks for the presentation, very interesting. When you say people you should move your coins regularly to kind of, what do you mean by that? Like what to kind of keep it clean, you were saying there.
Yeah, no, David, like if if you have no concerns about your Bitcoin, which you really everyone here is probably sound. Okay,
Mm,
I just want to say that first off. Everybody here is probably sound. But if you are paranoid for whatever reason, or if you feel like you want to not have your identity attached to your Bitcoin, then I suggest that you look into something like CoinJoin for privacy. I didn't do it for many, many, many years, and I was absolutely fine. But it's a good habit to know to do. If you have Bitcoin stored in a hardware wallet, you you know you're not you don't have to move it around. But I would suggest if you don't have practice, to practice sending, to practice receiving, to practice using these tools. And I
mm.
know everyone is extremely busy with work, and to be fiddling around with these tools is a bit of a pain. But it can really help you out. It can really help you understand Bitcoin a little bit more, and it can help you have more confidence in being
Would you
able.
recommend any, see you're using Sparrow there, would you recommend that over, say, Ledger or Trezor, or are they all kind of the same, would you say?
So, so Sparrow is just an interface basically to interact with Ledger. So you might have a Ledger or you might have a Trezor,
Okay.
and I recommend everyone have a hardware wallet where they hold their Bitcoin. That's really important. But Sparrow is just a software on your computer that you use to interact with that Ledger. So
Mm.
if you have a Ledger, you might have a Ledger software, but you can also use Sparrow instead of that Ledger software.
So it's like
Okay.
another layer of security there on top of the ledger security as well. So would it be?
Sparrow isn't necessarily another layer of security. It's
Okay.
just a tool to send and to receive Bitcoin that you
Okay.
can use with your hardware wallet.
Okay.
It replaces software like the Ledger Live software, or if you have Trezor, there's a Trezor software, or if you have the Jade, there's the Blockstream software. So depending on what wallet you have, they might have a software, but Sparrow is another type of software that can be used, and it's really handy. It's open source, which is really important. Open source means that the code that designates it is open for everyone to analyze and to probe and to audit, which makes it more secure.
Brilliant. That's great, Charlie. Thanks very much.
Sound. John.
Charlie, can I just ask you, the coin joint of Guinea has helped me out with multi-sig, and obviously I had a hardware wallet for a good few years now, and kind of fairly familiar with sending, receiving, and all that stuff. But the coin join bit, I kind of understand that the principle, at least I think I do. I need to go and do a bit more homework on it. I- Is it not, though, potentially kind of adding in another attack vector? Is there no way that somebody could have a go at coin join and somehow through that access more data that you're effectively providing for them here, or are you fully comfortable that that's not really a factor?
So the answer is no, because you still hold the 12 words. You will
Yeah.
always hold the 12 words. You're never giving away that to anyone.
Okay.
So all you're doing, this software, all it is basically allowing you to join with all these other random individuals across the globe in one transaction, right? So you're never giving away your identity. It doesn't, you can download it off any sort of device and then you can use that while you're always keeping hold of your 12 words on your hardware wallet. So you're never giving away any information that might put your Bitcoin at risk.
Okay. So it's almost like a kind of a tumbler, but you're not providing anything that connects you back.
Right. It's a tumbler because you're just sending it back to yourself essentially.
Yeah.
Or you're
Yeah.
tumbling
Yeah.
it with loads of other coins.
Lovely. Great presentation. Thanks very much.
Sound, John.
Thank you.
Maybe question, Charlie, if I could, please.
Did I hear something there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's only vaguely there.
It's not better, is it?
Who's speaking?
Tony Yeah, here. Tony, just speak up there, Tony. Speak up. Sorry, guys, Talk a with bit the louder. earphones are not great. The transaction you made earlier, Charlie, can we take it there was a fee for that? And if there was, how much it was, the 10,000 sats you sent earlier? There's a fee for that transaction, isn't there? What
Yeah,
is it? And
yeah, for sure.
what's it, what sort of charge is that, let's say?
So for any Bitcoin transaction, Tony, for any Bitcoin transaction, there's always a fee that's given to miners. Okay? So the miners are those who are basically securing the network with energy. So you know when Laura said that there's about nearly 20 million coins out there, that there's still another million to be mined to come into the system. And the way they come into the system is through mining. And basically, they're computers that are trying to guess a number. They're trying to guess a number. Whoever guesses the number is rewarded that coins. So, what's incentivizing these miners to spend all this electricity is this fee that everyone sends. Everyone sends this fee. So, that fee for 10,000 sats might have been something like 400 sats, which is essentially 30 cent. But I could have sent 10,000 sats, or I could have sent 10 million sats, you know? 10 million sats would have been around 7 grand, 6, 7 grand, and I'd still only be paying cents.
So I thought there was, sorry, I thought there was sometimes a minimum fee, and sometimes it can be quite high, like actually a lot more than the 10,000 stats. Is that, am I incorrect in saying that?
If you're using an exchange,
Okay.
if you're using an exchange, they might charge you a fee on top of whatever the mining fee is. So they might have a minimum fee attached.
Fine.
So if you're talking about buying Bitcoin on an exchange and then withdrawing that, they might charge you a good bit. So that's what you're probably looking at, whether it's on Binance or whether it's on Kraken or anything like that. So so have a look. But when you're sending Bitcoin from one, there's no minimum fee, but there's usually a fee you need to spend in order to make sure that the Bitcoin is sent.
I think that's where I was getting confused. So that makes it clearer. Thanks a lot, Charlie.
Sound, Tony. So guys, yeah, it's Joanne, good luck. It's all about knowing how to receive, how to send. Rich, I got a question from Rich here. It says, "Hi Charlie, would a coin join from KYC purchase BTC not be regarded as disposal for tax purposes? Would a coin join? No, you can use Bitcoin. You can send your Bitcoin to anywhere. As long as you're not selling it back from euros, that is not a tax event. Okay. I'm not a tax advisor, right, myself, but I know that it's basically the process of you buying Bitcoin first from euros to Bitcoin. That's the initial event. But once you sell Bitcoin back into euros, then that's the other tax event. So it's not regarded as disposal. It's still under your possession. So you would not be obliged under law to pay on tax for that Bitcoin.
Yeah. So basically, what Charlie's saying is it's a taxable event when you convert it back into fiat currency, fiat. But if you do what he's saying with the coin join thing, you know what I mean?
It stays in Bitcoin,
It stays
essentially.
in Bitcoin.
Yeah. And you're just amalgamating it so no one can actually trace it back to any particular address. Sound. So, guys, on a personal note, if you ever need to reach out, I'll send the website there. You're in extremely good hands with Lara and Dinny, obviously. But if you want to take things more seriously, what I do, what I help individuals is I help them audit their security. So whatever security they have, I do like an audit of their security, and I do self-custody setups, and I also do education for your family, so for your beneficiaries. So that's really important, and I do that, make sure that that's done. So I'm just gonna hide this for a second. Hide floating meeting control and go into here, and I'll just show you roughly um what we do. It's kind of lagging. So I also serve as an emergency contact. So if something happens to you and your beneficiaries want to be able to access your Bitcoin, but you want to have someone to help out with being able to recover that Bitcoin, I'm an emergency contact that you can reach out to, or your beneficiaries can reach out to, and I'll do a live session with them in order to recover that Bitcoin. So let's see what we have here. So I help with audit, with setup, with inheritance, and then ongoing support as well. So you can be sure that your setup is decent. If you have multi-sig with BTC advisors, that's really good. I'm just an ancillary if needs be. And yeah, for education, I know Laura does some really top quality classes as well. But I focus on Bitcoin estate planning specifically. So for families, I make sure that their Bitcoin is secure for the long term. So yeah. Any other questions, guys? I'd be more than happy to hear you. Let's see.
Just drop your
Uh,
website there if anybody wants to have a meeting with you, Charlie. Type it into the chat.
yeah, yeah.
I have
I'm
to bounce in
just
3 minutes. I have a Zoom call
sound sound. Just looking for
and
the
Dinny's gone, so he can't take
Zoom.
over.
That's grand. Well, I'll uh, I'll drop that in 2 secs. I'm just looking for the Zoom.
It's always like that though, isn't it? When you're trying to share something on a Zoom, you should have them all ready.
Yeah, can you access the Zoom yourself, Lar?
With Zoom. Yeah, I'm on the Zoom, yeah. Do you want me to type something in? Do you want me to type in your
Oh yeah,
website or something
no,
like that?
no, got it here.
Is it?
Yeah, so the website's shellingpoint.xyz, where you
Hang on a
can
minute, I
grab
have
me
it
on
here. Yeah.
chart.
You can stop sharing there for a minute. Just stop sharing the screen.
Yeah, yeah. And or you can email me at charlie@shellingpoint.xyz. Any other questions, guys? Fire ahead.
Just
But
do it there while I
Hi, Charlie.
get
This is
your
Seamus
thing
here.
down.
Brilliant presentation. I mean, look, it's very self-explanatory, and you've given an excellent demonstration about security and privacy. There's great benefits with Bitcoin. There's great risk. But I just basically wanted to generally pick your brain about, let's say, the next 4 or 5 years. No one knows what's going to happen, but if people who own Bitcoin and their wealth is going to increase, can you like talk a little bit about the need for security and privacy? It's obviously going to grow. It's not like traditional banking, so it's kind of a new playing field. And then maybe how all these technologies and these service providers are going to maybe develop, especially now that AI is on the scene and like tech companies are going to be kind of, I don't know, developing exponentially. You did mention it throughout the talk, but I'd just be interested. Like, let's say a lot of people online who are promoting Bitcoin are Bitcoin holders, and they could become potentially high net worth people. So just how the kind of criminal kind of element or the kind of fraud element might play along with that as well in the next years.
Yeah, well, it's the cases have increased drastically in France. Even in the last few months, there's been, I think, over 60 different examples of people getting attacked where they've had Bitcoin. So it's already happening. There's already individuals who have millions who've been basically kidnapped or tortured, or family members have been tortured. So it's already happening. So I can't imagine in 5 years, once it starts hitting the multi-million-dollar mark for its price per Bitcoin, then there's a much bigger honeypot for the attackers to try and take.
Explain as well, Charlie, how they're after getting people's data as well. Because the French system, the revenue, they had somebody on the inside there. Do you know a little bit about it?
Yeah,
How they got
so
people's data of who
so
has the Bitcoin, who
basically,
has the wealth of the future,
by people essentially giving over the information of their assets, of the amount of Bitcoin they have to the state.
informing on themselves to the revenue. And the revenue had people working in there and they were stealing the information and selling them to these gangs.
Well, that's
Basically.
nuts,
to
man.
the-
And that's what
So
they're lying now be up in the EU to do now and the UK to start handing over the information. And people will fall for it.
so yeah, so the less information you give over, the better when holding your wealth. And there's obviously going to be services that are going to protect individuals through different types of tactics, whether it's through multi-sig, where we can see, or through even delaying the Bitcoin from being spent, which is another way of it happening, of you protecting your Bitcoin. You're going to see that, but there's nothing that's going to replace having your own information, basically knowing how to secure it yourself for your family, and having a trusted third party that can accompany you on the way to make sure that you're making the right steps and that you're well informed. Obviously, with AI, there's much bigger capabilities for attackers to get at you. So it's really some simple rules of thumb that can increase your security and your privacy. And one of those is good hygiene, meaning most wallets create another public address every time you receive Bitcoin, and that's really, really good. Also, it's trying to buy a portion of your Bitcoin without giving away your identity. Another one is using stuff like CoinJoin software. And also another one is going to meetups, coming to calls like these, joining other people who have Bitcoin and keeping yourself informed, I think is a very important step of maintaining your wealth over the time that's coming forward. And it might be scary at the start, but once you start using these tools and practicing, it becomes second nature and you become much more confident.
Thanks very much, man.
Sound.
Charlie, can you speak to being able to get Bitcoin without giving your identity, being able to change fiat into Bitcoin without a platform?
So there's many different ways. There's an app called Peach that you can check out. So Peach is good, or Hodl Hodl, but Peach is the best one in Europe. So if you have Revolut, you're able to use this app. It's pretty easy, where you can put in offers. Oh, okay, I want to buy Bitcoin. I'm willing to pay this percentage. And then you'll send a certain amount of money through Revolut. And what happens is that they send Bitcoin and it's in this thing called escrow, which is like a vault. And then once you send Revolut, they receive it and they say, okay, we've received it. And once they tick that it's received, it goes from the vault into your wallet. And that's a way for you to send Revolut to another user without it being registered as euro to Bitcoin. So that's a way of purchasing non-KYC Bitcoin. Another way is through, there's lots of Telegram group chats of individuals that might want to sell Bitcoin for, just to stay afloat. You can do it at meetups, or you can even go to different countries that might have a higher amount of Bitcoin. So places like Madeira in Portugal have lots of businesses that accept Bitcoin and they might want to cash out. So you could approach them, or there might be individuals who just have Bitcoin and want to have cash to be able to survive, and you can exchange it for them. So there's lots of different ways to attain it. You just need to have a bit of wherewithal, and whenever the opportunity arises to exchange your fiat for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Brilliant, Morgan.
Thank
These are some really good questions, guys. Is there anything else that you guys are wondering? No?
think that's it for now.
That's
Okay, so
fantastic.
thanks everybody for joining. We had 32 people on the call. It was nice. And
Brilliant.
thank you, Charlie, for all your time and energy
Thanks,
that you gave
Charlie.
towards this.
Thanks,
And I'm
Charlie.
sure we'll be
Excellent.
seeing
Thanks,
you
Charlie.
again.
Yep, thank you. Now, could we
Somebody's
just
met
ask one
Charlie in
more
person.
question?
He was at the conference 2 weeks
Abs
ago.
Absolutely.
Had a
Well,
drink with him.
guys, it's huge. What a pleasure, and I really hope you guys got to learn something and get to practice a little bit as well. Any questions, fire ahead. The email, I'm always there. And Laura, thanks a million again for all your help, as usual.
No problem.
All right.
Happy to have
Good
you.
stuff.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Great
Okay, we'll
stuff.
Thank
talk to you
you.
Nice
soon
one.
and
All
book
the
your
best.
Thanks,
meetings when we
folks.
see you on Zoom and the one-to-one. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye 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 bye. Bye bye.
Ciao.